Good evening. Welcome everyone to the December the 16th, 2024 meeting, Castle County Board of Commissioners. If you would, join me in a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We don't have anyone signed up for public comments, so we'll move on to recognitions. I'll start with you, Commissioner Ingram.
No, sir.
Ms. Nguyen?
No.
Oh, okay. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things I'd like to recognize. December the 7th, we had our Christmas parade. I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved in putting that event on. A shout out. They did a tremendous job. And also our Christmas lights, everybody sees them around the courthouse and around the square and all. Just like to give a shout out to everybody that had a hand in that. It takes a lot of work to do that, and they really did an awesome job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wren?
I don't know if this is a time or not, but I was a little bit surprised and a little bit saddened that our clerk to the board, Ms. Smith, is leaving us. And I just want to thank her for doing a good job.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, sir. Earlier today, the governor's office announced that Cherokee Tobacco Company will be locating in Castle County. This is a really big deal. It's a $14 million investment in bringing good jobs to the county. And I want to thank the former Board of Commissioners and everyone involved in economic development and all the staff involved bringing this business to our great county. That's the first one's the hardest, and hopefully more announcements will come soon. Thank you.
Mr. Holt?
I'd also like to speak about Miss Carla. She's been wonderful. I couldn't ask for anybody that had been sweeter, and we're gonna have the biggest smile in Castle County gonna be leaving us. So you're gonna be sorely missed. Thank you for everything you've done.
And Carla, speaking for, I think, for the entire board, we do appreciate your service and wish you well in your future endeavors. Thank you. Okay, next up, the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Be approved?
Motion to approve.
Have a second? Second. Motion been approved and second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the December 2nd regular meeting minutes and the project ordinance amendment number 5, the ARP funds. Everyone looked over the emails, be familiar with what we're talking about. Do I have a motion be approved?
Make a motion.
Motion, have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, moving into action items. Purchase of an ambulance. Folks, if you'll remember, this was a discussion that we had at our last meeting. The motion was made to table this item until tonight's meeting. Do I have a motion to remove it from the table and consider it for discussion?
Motion to remove.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion been made, second to remove, bring this item back up, remove it from the table. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Pascal.
Yes, Chairman and Commissioners, we bring before you this item that was tabled from the last meeting to ask for approval. A couple of developments since then. You should have received in your agenda packet a projection of fund balance that Ms. Sharp has done. that shows our fund balance should be adequate to absorb this expense. The next thing is that our emergency services director has reached out to the company that manufactures the ambulance, and they are willing to accept a contract at this point, and then the payment in next fiscal year. And then finally, I did an analysis of revenue for EMS, and it appears to me, and I'll give you these. Based on my analysis, it appears that we will be between $200,000 and $265,000 in additional revenue over what was budgeted in the current year. And Mr. Lynch is here if you have any questions.
Folks, floor is open for discussion. Questions concerning this matter?
Ms. Lynch, you told me before the meeting you had looked into some used ambulance. Would you enlighten the whole board about this?
Yeah, I went to Joseph Motors, which is located in Raleigh. They had a used ambulance online that I found. I looked at some other ambulances online, used ambulances online. This was the only one where there was two that would possibly we could use. One was already sold. I went down and looked at this one. It's a 2015 ambulance. It was a government ambulance. It's only got 23,000 miles on it. It's a extremely base model truck for the military. Just an estimate for us to do that truck, the upgrades, so we could use it. You're estimating about an additional $40,000 to put the power load system and some upgrades to the truck. I didn't drive the truck. At that time, the salesman, there wasn't check engine light on it. He said that after I left, he scanned it, said it was because of the master switch on the battery, which is a little concerning to me. There was an oil leak that he said had been fixed. And the power loads, not the power load, the rear suspension where when you open the doors, the back of the truck lowers down. The one we currently use is a liquid spring suspension. That's the link suspension, and it wasn't lowering, so I don't know whether that's just where it's been sitting and just needs to be used some. But that's some concerns that I had with it. Mr. Rand has told me about another website today that he found that has some other used trucks, but I don't know anything. I haven't looked at those and I don't know anything about those.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Oh. If we wanted to buy that truck or a used truck, I'm sure they would let us take it to a mechanic and check it over ourselves before we make that investment. And I think you told me it only had 25,000 miles on it.
23,580.
And they're wanting 89,000.
$80,408.
80,000. So if we had to spend some upfit money, you'd still be about 120, 100 to 30, $40,000. And I don't like, we talk about, oh, it's only 140 or 150, but I don't like spending money we don't need to spend, but.
My only concern with this truck is it's a truck that's almost 10 years old, and the standards that we try to go by says that you should replace a truck every 7 to 10 years. So we're looking at buying a truck that's already at the beyond what if we could find a newer truck somewhere, I mean, that's my big concern with.
Yeah, but that's 20-some thousand miles on a 10-year-old truck. That's hardly, your truck's got 10 years or 8 years with
Yeah, but that's also a big,
300,000.
that's also a big concern to me too, that you got a diesel that's been sitting and not being run. That's another concern also.
Who's dictating these standards?
It's the national, it's not the fire association, it's not the triple K specs, because they're not, it's a national safety standard. I can't remember what the actual one is, but I have a copy of the document that it was actually in the presentation that we gave you that said what the standards and their recommendations are. It's 250,000 miles or either 7 or 10 years old.
Any other questions, comments? Now's the time to put it out there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can we go ahead and commit to buying this ambulance and yet be in the next budget year, not this budget year?
Yes. You can.
Chairman. I'd like to see us proceed in buying a new ambulance, making an agreement tonight to buy a new ambulance. But put off a refit or give us a little more time to find maybe a little newer model truck, used ambulance. And see what we come up with that. But I'll make a motion so we can get it on the table to debate to buy the new ambulance. Make a commitment to buy it tonight. And of course, then we can pay for it in the next budget year.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion that we sign a commitment letter, I guess is what the term would be. Am I right?
It'd be
Sure.
it'd be a contract.
Contract, but not a PO. We'll be doing a purchase order.
No PO will be done until next budget year.
Okay. But this is only for the new truck, if I'm
New
understanding
truck.
right,
One
not
new
the
truck.
retrofit of the,
No,
taking it
we're
bid
gonna
off.
wait on that and make a decision later on
Okay.
that.
all right?
How much time frame are we looking at in making the decision on the remount? Because I need to get my name on the list for that. The way that it's set up now is once we get the new truck back here in July, the remount would go in September. And once that leaves, that'll be gone for 6 months doing the remount. Thinking about remounts, you're looking at roughly $225,000 for a remount versus if you pay $90,000 for a used truck and upfitting it. I mean, no warranty with a new truck. I mean, that's my opinion of it.
What warranty would you have with the remount?
You say you had a remount on the components inside the box, you got 12 months,
But
just
you
like
wouldn't know motor and transmission and all that.
the motor, transmission, it's a brand new truck, it's a brand new chassis, so you get 100,000 miles. Just like buying, it's a new truck, so you get the new vehicle warranty on that truck.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
In my opinion, I would put the remount off longer than till the next budget year. Because we don't have it in the budget. And that's something we can bring up at budget time if we don't find a used one. I mean, I'd be more receptive to buying a used one. I mean, I've only had one new vehicle in my life, but I've had a lot of used ones. I've got a lot of miles out of them. I bought used tractors and they've lasted 50 years. And they're diesels too. And, knock on wood, they've been giving me good service. So I mean, that's my opinion. I'm just me speaking, but I'd like to hear what other commissioners think about this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to purchase a new ambulance. Was it 351 and some change, I believe is right? Is the cost of the new one?
Yes, 351,083.
All right. Motion is to purchase a new.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I guess we need to find the revenue for it. You want to add to that? To take it from fund balance or the
Well,
funds that we're
it's
saving?
going to come out of next year's budget.
Okay.
It's not going to come out of this year's budget.
That's
All we're
even
doing
better.
is making a commitment, sign the contract now. There will be no money expended during this budget cycle for this particular item.
Call for questions.
All right.
One last thing, Mr. Chairman. You did say that the projected revenues this year will look like they were going to be
Yes.
22 and 250,000 more than what was projected at the last year's budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, you've heard the motion, heard the discussion. We'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor of the motion to purchase the new ambulance at a cost of $351,083, which will be in next year's, come out of next year's budget. We'll do roll call. Mr. Holt,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Wren,
Yes.
Mr. Ingram,
Yes.
Ms. Gwynn.
Yeah.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion carries. Now,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
For Mr. Lynch, how many calls do you average a month?
We run about 4,500 per year. So, depending on some months is more than others. And I would have to do the math. I can't.
It's 400.
Roughly 400 a month.
A month,
Yes.
100 a week. Wow, that's a lot of calls.
And the fact that we don't have a hospital in the county, our transport times and the times on the call is extended.
Gotcha. All right.
all right.
Thank you.
We passed the motion to purchase the new ambulance. Does the board have any appetite at tonight's meeting on a retrofit, or do we want to hold off? I know Mr. Wren has made his desires known to wait. Anybody else have an opinion on it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Ms. Smith.
I think Mr. Lynch needs to do some due diligence on the website research that Commissioner Wren recommended and see what he can find. If he can find something, maybe come back to the board for that.
I like that.
I'm just nervous, gentlemen.
But
Every-
we're the ones that's,
For every day later that I put my name on the list, the chances of us being 2-3 years down the road gets even higher. That's right now, if we're doing it, this remount won't be here until 2026.
Well,
If you vote on it right now, it will not be here till March of 2026.
Well, Mr. Wren said there was literally hundreds of them for sale. And I guess if you was to get in a bind and we were in trouble, we should be able to get on there and get one. I hate to be pressured into making a decision tonight.
I personally,
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. We will bring this matter up again sometime in the future. Don't know when. Okay, the courthouse HVAC replacement contract. Was that tabled, Russell, number?
It was.
No, sir, that was not
Okay,
tabled.
sorry.
So the 25 budget included funds to replace the heating and air conditioning system in this building. Replacement is needed because the system is inefficient, has only one thermostat controlling the bottom 2 floors, and we cannot find new replacement parts. RD has been relegated to finding used replacement we did ask for quotes, from 3 companies. Duggan's Mechanical was the low bid. I will note that the prior county manager had already given Duggan's Mechanical notice to proceed, and the work is scheduled to start in January. And the board has to approve the contract. It is above, my authority to sign a contract. So Russell has copies of the contract that he has drawn up, and will pass those out.
Mr. Chairman, may I approach?
Yes, sir.
Madam Manager.
Yes.
A couple of these quotes I see in it, well, one I see in here says that I don't think they even bidded on it because it said the job was too large or too small for the company.
Right. We received 2 quotes. Duggan's was the low. The other one was for, Duggan's was for 196,000. Superior Mechanical was for 200,000, and James Heating and Air Conditioning declined to submit a bid because of the size of the project.
Tim,
Yes,
is what's in the budget enough to cover this full
Yes.
amount?
We budgeted 196. We based it on, the bid, so.
Okay.
is it anything in here that stands out that we need to be looking at on this contract, Russell?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The Madam County Manager and I reviewed the contract, and we actually used our new county services contract as a template for the contract with Duggan's HVAC, and we incorporated the terms of the work order or total job budget quotes submitted by Duggan's Mechanical. And the most important part, Mr. Chair and fellow members, would be on page 3. At the top of the page is entitled Waiver, Assumption of Risk, and Release of Liability. And in the following 3 paragraphs, we've incorporated language that requires a service provider to have adequate insurance to cover any claim, injury, or damage, as well as workers' compensation insurance and general liability insurance coverage.
Did, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
did they give any references as to jobs that they have done of this size to anybody? I guess this is the gentleman's gonna tell me.
Duggan's Mechanical is probably one of the largest mechanical companies in Alamance County. They do all the city of Burlington, Graham, Elon, Hall River, and Gibsonville's local and county work and the college. Right now, we have 1 compressor downstairs that's bad. We only have 1 more to go. The heat up here is run off a light switch and a hand timer in the back. Me prior to coming here, the upstairs unit that feeds this building, that's why the paint was destroyed in this building, was because of dehumidification in the building. So he has been working on this project pro bono for 2 years with the engineers with Train and hadn't charged us 1 dime. So and all the coils in this building have to be custom made. Because they're going to take the hot water coils out and replace them with a ton package unit, electric package unit. So we're actually going to cut the 2,000 million BTU furnace, gas furnace in the building off. And it's actually fed with a 2.5-inch gas line. So we will, receive savings by disconnecting the gas line. Plus, we're going to save the inside of this building, so we ain't got to spend another $50,000 to $60,000 to have it painted again.
And how soon can you get started?
Scott signed the contract about 2 months ago and shook the man's hand down here on the courthouse steps, and he started ordering parts that day.
Right. And it won't interfere with the day-to-day activities of the
No,
government?
sir, he's gonna do the upstairs first, and then we're gonna do one side of the downstairs offices, and then switch everybody from that side to this side and do the other side.
Will you put in a better thermostat than a light?
Yes, sir,
switch?
each room will have its own zone controls.
Okay.
When
That's
you say
all.
the high voltage connection by Clint Wilson.
Yes, sir.
They're doing all, the electrical is in their contract.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't real plain. I just.
Yeah, that's a turnkey price.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Seems to me like we got things backwards. Shouldn't we have approved the bid prior to signing the contract? Is that,
All this stuff was put in my budget. I put papers, pictures and everything, and it was in there.
Yeah, this is not on the maintenance director. This is on the former county manager for signing the notice to proceed. So we are following the process and bringing the contract to you tonight.
all right, question number two, I see the quote is dated February the 19th, 2024. Is he able to hold his prices?
I got him to honor the quote.
Your inflation.
I got him to honor the quote and parts are being made right now.
Okay. Next question is, do you see it being a few change orders to do this job?
I don't see none at all.
Yeah, that's what kills you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the contract? with Duncan
Motion to
Mechanical?
approve.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, the extension of the NC1 grant for Riverside Furniture, Ms. Pascal.
Yes, in April of 21, a grant agreement was executed NC Commerce, Riverside Furniture, and Castle County for Riverside to receive 150,000 NC1 grant and a $250,000 reuse grant. We had to provide a total match of 62,500, of which we have provided 37,500 so far. The invest that they invest $5.5 million and create 50 new jobs. The agreement expired December 4th of 2024. If it's up to the board whether you want to renew the agreement or not and extend it until they're asking an extension to December 4th of 2025. If you extend it, it's possible that we would have to pay the additional $25,000 match. In your agenda packet is a copy of where the board adopted a grant project ordinance. So those funds were budgeted per the grant project ordinance. So even though there is a $25,000 match, it has been accounted for in the budget.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we know how close they are to meeting their goal on investment and jobs?
I don't know that. I certainly can find out, but I think their thought was if they got the extension that they would be able to meet it.
Okay, is this, the extension is, this is the first extension they've had. Is it a number of the limited number of extensions that they can get from the state, or is that up to us? Or-
It's up, all of it is up to you. So I don't know how many extensions the state would grant. But if you choose not to do the extension, then the state doesn't do the extension. We're partners in that. This is the first extension, even though I think the project ordinance or something that I read has the agreement expiring in 2022. I did confirm with the state that the agreement expired in 24 and there has been no extension.
Is the state checking on this to see if they're?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman. Until I find out, I mean, they're supposed to do 50 jobs and $5 million, right?
5.5 roughly.
$5.5 million. But if they've only done $2 million and only got 30 jobs, I don't think they'll make it by next, and I don't want to throw good money behind bad money. So I'd like to know
So you
where
don't,
they are.
you don't pay the $25,000 until they meet their targets.
Okay.
So it won't
So
cost
if they
us
don't-
anything unless they,
Correct.
Unless they meet their target.
Right.
Correct. And my understanding, I didn't verify this directly. My assumption was they haven't met the jobs target, but they have met the investment target.
Pardon me there. They haven't reached the jobs, but they have reached the investment.
Investment. That's what I believe, because the state said the reason for the renewal or the extension was for the fact that they had not reached the jobs target.
so we can either grant them a 1-year extension, and if they meet that jobs target, the county will have to kick in another 25,000, or we can not grant the extension. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Madam Manager, you said that $25,000 has already been previously budgeted.
It was budgeted in a project ordinance. We can't find the budget amendment where the money was moved, but the board did adopt a project ordinance for this project.
Have we paid them money before?
Yes, we have paid them 37,500 so far.
Okay, if this doesn't come out until they reach their goal, why did the other come out?
There are targets along the way, and they met those targets along the way. Not to mention the building reuse grant was a fairly big portion of that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious as to, if they lose our 25,000, would they not lose the state's match
Yeah.
as well? And what type of impact that would be on their operation to do that?
I haven't talked to them directly. I just communicated through the state. If you would like me to find that information and bring it back at the next meeting, I can do that.
I think we need to do everything we can to keep what industry we have in the county, and it means extending it. If there looks like they're making a good faith effort and getting closer to the goal, then I think maybe you could maybe get back to us and let us know.
Okay, I'll be glad to.
All right. So we will put this on hold for the time being. If everyone is good with that.
Move the table, Mr.
All right. Got a motion to table
Chairman.
this item.
Is there
Wait a
any,
minute, we got a motion on the floor. We have a second. to table it?
Second.
Motion to table. Is there any discussion on the motion to table, David?
Yes,
Okay. Any discussion on the motion to
it could be
table?
voted down.
I just want to ask, there's no time frame on this with the state, is it?
I don't believe so, because the grant has already expired.
Okay, yeah, that was my only question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a motion to table this item until,
Mr. Chairman, can I
yes,
table it till our next regular meeting? Because we got a work session.
yeah, this be the second meeting in January, which I don't have the date in front of me, but we'll table it till our regular meeting, not the work session.
It's on the 21st.
The 21st of January, be
Table it
tabled
till
until then.
21st.
Any other discussion on tabling this? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion, well, item is tabled. Item is tabled. Okay, item 10, the budget amendments. We discussed this to some degree at our last meeting, and I believe this item was tabled, if I'm right, Mr. Attorney.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, do I have a motion to remove this item from the table for further discussion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of removing it from the table, bringing it back for the board for discussion, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Ms. Pascal.
So as we talked about at the last meeting, we've been doing a lot of cleanup in preparation for getting our audits current. One of the outstanding items was the PSAP fund, which in the past, not because of misappropriation, but because it's quite frequent to send expenses to the state and have those expenses denied. You can send the expenses again the next year and they might be received or accepted. So I don't know that I ever was able to submit a PSAT report in my career that was just accepted wholesale. So it's very common to have changes, but these changes have been cumulative since 2017. This problem has been rolling from year to year to year and growing larger. So we now owe the PSAP fund for ineligible expenses $185,535. We receive approximately 100,000 a year, right, Kenneth, in 911 funds. If we do not make this right, we will no longer receive those 911 funds. So I don't see that we have a choice except to approve this budget amendment.
Now, Mr. James,
Go ahead.
is this amendment number 12?
No, it's number 11.
This is just paying back
Correct.
111.
Correct.
Because in Amendment 12, you got, that way you reallocate the money from that, from 911. But you also bring up fund balance.
Well, that is PSAP fund balance, not general fund.
ESAP meaning
The
emergency,
911 fund.
okay, but
There's not a double hit on the general fund. You transfer the 185,000 into the 911 fund, that becomes fund balance, and then that fund balance from the 911 fund is appropriated in budget amendment number 12.
I'll ask more about that, but right now we're just discussing paying back the state, which we kind of have to do. They got us where they want us.
Yeah, all we're considering now is
Is 11.
NA number 11, correcting for past ineligible expenditures. Any other questions from the board?
That's a lot of ineligible expenditures.
Well, been building up over 7 years, is that right?
Yes.
What were some of the ineligible expenditures?
I have to turn to Jonna and Kenneth to answer that.
A large amount of the ineligible expenditures came back to 2017, 18, and 19, when reports were done and salaries were paid out of the PSAP fund, and they were not supposed to be. Those exceeded $100,000. Then another large chunk of them came from when they completed the backup center project in Prospect Hill. That was spent incorrectly. Some funding was not approved when they did that.
And you were not director at that time. Your prior director made this mistake
It came prior to me.
prior to you. Good for you.
Any other questions? comments?
Honestly,
Yes.
Kenneth, and because of Kenneth, we're able to fix this situation.
Do I have a motion to approve this budget amendment number 11?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Number 12.
So number 12 is to appropriate 104,565 of the 911 fund balance and fund 911 consoles and a generator replacement project. These items were put forth in the 25 budget and that's, I think, the point at which we realized that there was a problem between the general fund and the 911 fund. So this would appropriate those additional funds for those projects.
Question, Mr. Wren.
All right, so you're taking out of the 911 fund, you're taking $200,000 out of that reserve, which is, how much is in that reserve? Don't know.
Once the funds are fixed tonight from budget amendment number 11, that would put us right about $480,000 in our PSAP fund. The state requires you to keep at least 20% fund balance. However, with the radio console project, the generator, and our normal operating expenses for this fiscal year, we would end up dropping down to 11.25% fund balance remaining, which is roughly 55,000 to be exact.
All right.
One
But I-
more, I'm sorry, one more point. We cannot carry a large fund balance or our 911 money will start to be cut.
I understand that, but, they say you gotta have 20, they want 20%, so, you got in here, maintenance, database maintenance, capital out general, you've got telecommunication, telecommunications, and you've got, training expenses for employees. Don't you have training in your budget now? Or is it all expired?
So you have two separate budget lines for training. The ones that come out of the 100 fund, our general fund from ad valorem tax base, are presented for hotels, travel expenses, and classes that are not eligible. The other classes, such as, I'll give you an example, would be our emergency medical dispatch, our emergency fire dispatch, telecommunicator course, management courses, are all eligible expenditures that come out of the PSAP fund. Those are submitted every year. So when you submit an audit each year at the beginning of September, they're broke down into separate categories. One of them's furniture and phones, one of them's training, one of them is database management software, and that pertains to everything that has to do with the 911 center. It's a very tedious audit. As she said, a lot of times there's things that are going to come back just because they're accepted one year versus different the next year at the state level.
But how about the generator? How much is that gonna cost? And how old is the one you've got now?
So we go by a technology plan of replacement for the state. So when you're looking at things like computers, monitors, that type of thing, they recommend 3 to 4 years. Our chairs are replaced every 3 years. On the generator, it has a 15-year life. The one we currently have now that operates the 911 center is a 2009 model. So this year will be year number 15. So any replacement parts that we've already ran into to fix the generator, being a computer board, is out of date for that generator. So we can't get the correct parts to put back. So we're due up for a replacement.
But that's not in this current budget. Was it not put in there?
We didn't, the board didn't adopt a 911 budget, correct? Donna?
Thing, are they gonna need paid?
Thank you.
The 911 budget that was adopted with the ordinance is what is shown in this amendment as the FY25 current budget. But it did not reflect what the program plan was because we had to pull back the amount that had been requested as appropriated fund balance because there wasn't any documentation that that fund balance was available. So part of this project is in the general fund and is budgeted, right, Kenneth?
The ineligible part of our radio consoles was budgeted last year in the last budget. The eligible part will come from the state.
But it's, you say part of it's in the budget.
Is in the
How big a
25.
part, how big a part are we talking about that's not in the budget?
So when we get done between the general budget, what was approved in this current fiscal year's budget, and what will be approved tonight, will cover the 100% of the cost of the radio consoles.
So it's $200,000.
It'll exceed that. Our part of The county part was just under 300 and this part is listed in here. We'll take the remaining balance.
So
Thank-
this
thank you.
this budget amendment number 12 is properly stating the 911 budget now that the fund balance will have been replenished from the general fund. And the project cost, or there's portions of this project cost which are in the general fund and were budgeted as part of the 25 budget, and the remainder is in the 911 budget.
Is any of this could be put off till next budget time? We're right in the middle of the budget year.
This has been planned. It was just the fact that the fund balance in the 911 fund was not accounted for properly, that we could not proceed with the budget that had been put request, which was to use more fund balance than was on the books at the time. So this project is ready to be bid. Kenneth has been waiting for us to work through all the details with the state to properly state the 911 funds so that we would have sufficient, the fund balance which he had projected available to move forward with the project. So this has no impact. Now that you've transferred the amount from the general fund to the 911 fund and made that whole, that fund now is available. Those funds are now available to move this project forward.
Any other questions from the board? All right, what's your pleasure?
I want to say there is no real budget impact because these dollars in the 911 fund can only be used on 911 eligible activities.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
I see this as more accounting, bookwork, movement of monies back and forth, not really additional expenditures. I don't think we can just jeopardize the funds we got coming in from 911 by
Correct.
putting it off.
And this project had been planned if not for me identifying during the budget process that the fund balance wasn't properly stated, this could have gone forward as part of the budget. And it's just taken us months to get it straight and get the state in agreement, plus Kenneth working with them to get them to approve $180,000 that would have potentially had to be on this amendment number 11
I'm
tonight.
just thankful you found it and we can move forward, but hopefully we will not have that recurring problem.
I believe we will not.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rose.
Ms. Sharp, this does put us with the state, we're going to be good from this point forward.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
One other question for our director. Didn't we have an issue this past winter where that generator kicked out? We had a problem with it. It went down during one of the storms we had.
February the 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day ice storm. It was a pressure switch that caused the problem that day.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just to clarify my small brain. All right, we're sending 186,000 back to the state 911.
No. Back to ourselves.
We're sending it back to ourselves.
Back to ourselves. We've taken it from one pocket and put it in the other.
Okay, we're taking it out of our general fund
Yes,
and put it into this.
in the 911 fund that the county
That
maintains.
gives us how many millions?
No, it gives us
Thousands,
a little over 480,000.
480, and 480,000, you're gonna take out from fund balance.
204.
Take out, that leaves 280,000. And what is your 20% of your budget?
So once the money was transferred, it'll give you a running fund balance of 480. So
That's what I
what,
just.
and what this budget amendment covers in here for the radios, consoles, and normal operating procedures will take us down to about $50,000 to $55,000 left if we spend all of that. That'll leave us 11.25% fund balance.
11 and they want 20.
They like to see 20, yes, sir. But the problem we're in right now, just like this fiscal year, we are not receiving any funds from state 911 because our records showed at the state that our fund balance was too high. So we were penalized with no funds this year.
Is this total appropriation, thank you, Kenneth. The total appropriation here is $390,000, all of which is in essence fund balance.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Now's the time. Do I have a motion to approve this budget amendment?
I make a motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment. Any more discussion before we vote?
I just don't see, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just don't see you lowering that fund balance. They say 20%. We're looking at 11%. I can't support this. So I'll be voting no.
Any other discussion? Kenneth, I got a question for you. Is there anything on this in the increase that you're asking for that could be backed off until next budget year? To keep, and the reason I'm asking to get you back to that 20% mark, or is that just not doable with what you need?
I think, where we need to be is to spend the 390 to finish the, radio console project and the generator. I think those are two very important pieces. If we get to a point, we can always, because of the state situation that we were in with a higher fund balance, so annual, monies coming in from 911 this year, we could do a funding reconsideration. I think that would get us back to where we need because we were penalized.
So you could actually go back.
I can go back.
This is our actual fund balance. Would you reconsider funding us some additional money?
I can, yes.
Okay.
And they're completely understanding through all this part.
Any other questions, comments? Not, we will proceed to vote. We'll do roll call on this one. All those in favor, Mr. Holt?
Well, let me ask this, has it changed what's been put on the floor since what he said?
No.
Or would that like to be?
That doesn't change it at all. Not in my mind.
I don't like it, but I'm gonna vote yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wren?
No.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. Gwynn? Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Pascal, one more, the PCC easement for sewer line.
Yes, sorry about, last week and not sending out the memo and the attachments ahead of time. Mr. Ross attempted to send those to us and I guess the file size was too large. So I have a copy of the memo at your place. As you know, the seed project is underway. David Ross is here. He's the, civil engineer on the project. And they are requesting an easement, for the, force sewer, the sewer force main. It would be an easement through the county's 60-foot property that we own. And also an easement, a construction easement for the water line. And I will turn it over to David to answer questions and present this. Got all the handouts.
Let's start with that. We'll go with that map first.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So yes, I was asked here to talk further about the PCC project and what is being required for this site. But first thing I wanted to do is go through a brief history. I know some of the members are new. So brief history of Caswell County's utilities. Some folks may not be aware that Caswell County has water and sewer utilities. However, starting back in 1993, Caswell County partnered with Danville to help do the Welcome Center on 29. And as part of that project, a water line from Danville Utilities and also a sewer line from Danville was extended all the way down to the Welcome Center on 29. That was completed in 1993, and then it sat idle, and it was the only thing that Caswell County had until 2008 timeframe. And in 2008, Caswell County decided to start putting some money in to invest into the industrial park due to NORAD Technologies coming in and wanting to build a site out there. And during 2008 to 2013, there was a 5-phase approach as to the utilities to be expanded to serve NORAG Industries. This included an elevated storage tank, a potable water line, a non-potable water line, and a force main and gravity sewer extension to extend down to the NORAG Industries. And that is what the map that you all have in front of you that's labeled Caswell County Utility Map shows. It shows your connections to the Danville systems for water and sewer. And then it also shows you have a booster pump station right below the line. It shows the location of the elevated storage tank that you can see from 29, and it shows you the location of your lift station. So that is the Caswell County utilities as they are today. You can get to the next slide. If there's any questions, just stop me and I can.
Danville has non-potable.
Huh?
Danville has non-potable water line.
We have the non-potable. So actually, I can further explain that a little bit. Due to the size and the amount of industries that we have in industrial park right now, it is considered a non-potable water line to meet fire suppression for NORAG as it was required. However, if at time is needed for us to use that 10-inch line for potable water, it is accounted for us to change that over because all of Danville waters that they're feeding us is potable water. It's just, if we were to have a potable 10-inch water line and a 300,000 gallon storage tank in Caswell County, we would have to be flushing the line constantly to keep the water quality at the right state levels. Makes sense?
Well, it's fair.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So the next one is PCC's utility map. So PCC, with the project that they are proposing, which I overlaid onto the Google map, you can see a lot of it. There's a few phases approach to this project. The first phase will include a driveway down into the campus on the westernmost side of the site, and it will include a food hub, and it will include incubator farms and some of the other nurseries that you see on there. So that is phase one. And for PCC to move forward with phase one, the items that I have listed on here, force main for sewer, a water main extension, and connection to y'all system is going to be required for them to move forward with the project. Otherwise, they will not have drinking water for the site, and they would not have sewer services for the site as well. Any questions on the locations of those items? And then this map gives you a little bit closer picture of the locations of those utilities. So you can see the force main, you can see the lift station, and you can see the water main extension. We are proposing all those items to meet or exceed what Caswell County currently has in their system as far as the water mains, the pumps, and the force mains. And with talking with the county manager, Pascal, we've discussed the ownership of all these items and talked about the location from last time I was here too. And the ownership, PCC will be the owner of all the utilities. So the force main, the lift station, and the water main extensions will all be owned and maintained by PCC. What we are requesting tonight is the last slide, which is a construction and permanent utility easement that follows along the property line for the Caswell County Industrial Park. It does jog out there at the very last bit, once you get past all the cleared area, to avoid there's a steep slope there and trees and other items as well. And it follows back along the maintenance road that is currently being used pretty regularly by the maintenance director. So it does jog back out there, but the rest of it does stay along the property line, and it is a 20-foot easement for construction and permanent. The construction is required for us to install it, and then permanents for PCC to come back through and do any maintenance activities that may be required for the force main. And the other item that was noted was a small construction easement for the water line. You can see it's very small. It's only probably a 20 by 20 or 20 by 40 construction easement on the property that's owned by Caswell County. And this is temporary. This is only needed for us to dig down on top of the water line and connect to the existing one and put a bore underneath the road to tie into the new campus. So that is what is required for PCC to move forward with their project.
How many acres is this?
Acres is what?
How many acres is this? This right away,
The driveway.
the right away.
The right of way, I don't know the exact acreage, but the 20-foot is a minimum that you have to have for a state for a public utility easement. You have to maintain 10 foot either side of your utility. So that is a minimum.
Okay, I'm not following something. This purple picture, this is not what you're asking for then. You're asking for a 20-foot right of way straight.
Green.
No, that is the exact route that we are asking for. And that's where I'm referring to the jog out there toward the lift station. As you drive into the existing maintenance road that's being used for the lift station, and you start going down the slope.
Get out. If you would, please.
So the 60-foot that we had discussed earlier will be a 60-foot piece of property owned by the county. So our property will start from the NORAG property line and go over 60-foot.
It goes from that fence down there, and that road's incorporated and straight down.
Right. So what's going to happen with that jog is either some of this towards the end or towards the back of the property will have to go on the project acre site, and they will just grant them an easement through it. But the rest of it will actually be owned by Caswell County.
60 foot.
Yes, sir. 60-foot.
Yes, sir, Mr. Reed.
This is an amendment I can go for because you're not asking us for any money, right? You just want easement. And you gotta have easement to build this building.
Yep, it is required for this project to move forward. Currently, we are on hold for PCC until we can move this forward.
Yeah. And we've got plenty of capacity, don't we?
But what it does do is takes off from the road frontage because project A or this other project's gonna move down.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross, if memory serves me correct, there are 3 utility poles outside this easement. Is any further discussions to where the electric service to the pump station will be?
So this is completely separate from that discussion for the Acres project. This is only for the PCC project and their utilities move forward.
And this will not, I overheard Mr. Holt's concern, this will not shift Project Acre. So at the very beginning, when I presented Project Acre, we allowed them a 60-foot, we allowed a 60-foot area from the property line. That property was not Project Acre's property. That was going to be for Caswell County to own, so we could regulate that easement. So this will not shift Project Acre 60-foot towards Highway 29.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the easement requested.
Have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
Have a second.
One second, please.
Yes, Ms. Bass.
There's a recommended motion in your memo, motion to grant Piedmont Community College a utility easement that allows construction of a sewer force main and a construction easement for the water line connection, and authorize the county manager to sign the easement subject to the following. A survey is completed by a surveyor licensed in the state of North Carolina. The easement is located entirely on Caswell County property and does not encroach on other property owners. We would ask you to give me the authority to sign the easement once the survey has been done. so we can expedite the process and it doesn't have to come back to the board.
Okay, the last
Mr.
part.
Chairman, I move that we accept the motion in the presentation from Ms. Pascal and give her permission to sign once the survey is completed
Now, do I have a second on that? Second, okay. That is the motion as written,
as written.
as written. Now, any further discussion? Mr. Holt?
Well, the very last part, when he said that it may encroach on that other right at the pump station, that kind of goes against what you're saying there, that it would not go onto anyone else's property.
Can I approach the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the rock outcrops and steep slope.
So if you consider this inside, this is 20 foot, so another 20 foot would start bottom. That would go, if I have to shift project acre, or if they have to shift project acre line, then we would just allow project acre and move land in that back corner. But I do not want to go more road.
But all,
Yeah, question. Mr. Holt.
all that's on the back side though. That shift is on the back. The shift you were talking about was on the back of the property.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Trees are.
Any other questions, discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of granting the easement as written, please let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank y'all.
This might not be the right time, Mr. Chairman, but
Let's hear it.
we've heard a lot about Project Acre. When is that, when are plans to start on this project?
I think we're gonna get into that in closed session tonight.
Get
Right. County manager update, Ms. Pascal.
Have a few updates. You had asked me at the December 2nd meeting to write a letter to our legislative delegation, thanking them for the House Bill 10. I'll let you know that they voted against House Bill 10. So I wanted to know if you want a letter to the leadership.
Who voted against House Bill 10?
Representative Renee Price and Senator Greg
But
Meyer.
it passed the general.
It passed the General Assembly. Our delegation voted against it. There were a lot of things in the bill that I'm sure they weren't voting against taking the broadband requirement out, but
Let's send a letter of thanks to Senator Phil Berger, President Pro Tem, who spearheaded this effort.
is everybody in agreement?
It was agreeable to the board.
I did want to mention the 911 item that you approved tonight. We brought this up at the last meeting, but I just wanted to underscore that Mr. Everett negotiated with the 911 board. Our transfer from the general fund would have been roughly double what we did tonight if he had not gotten them to agree to that figure. So he did a good job in negotiating that. I am planning to take off next week without objection. I will be at my house. So if something comes up here, I'm can travel here and deal with it. And Ms. Williamson will be on site. I've received from our Parks and Recreation Director today a grant from, we've been awarded a grant from Dan River Community Foundation, I think is the name of it. And this is for a dog park. The grant is for $8,624. We need to sign the agreement by yesterday. there will be a notice of there will be a presentation of award on January 8th. I'm sorry, the grant agreement has to be signed by January 3rd, which is before you meet again. I would ask, it is in, if I understand the budget ordinance correctly, it's within my authority to sign the grant agreement, both because of the amount and because there is no county match for the fund, so it does not obligate the county. I just wanted to make you aware that I am signing that grant agreement. Any questions or concerns?
And the grant is for,
A dog park. So I have an email from Mr. Jefferson, our Parks and Recreation Director. Let's see, it will be located near the main entrance to the park off of County Park Road. It would be in the area near the picnic shelter, but far enough away that it would not cause an issue with the picnic shelter. The area is shaded. And we only have one picnic shelter, so you would know roughly where that is. And he's given me a cost breakdown for that grant funds.
Any questions concerning it? Anybody?
That's all I have.
Commissioner comments, Mr. Holt? Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. I'm a numbers man, so at some point in time, whether it be the planning session or the retreat, would you be able to give us an update on the audits, where we stand as far as the audits, and how we compare expenses to budget as far as year-to-date revenues, and the progress we're making as far as filling the financial director's position?
Yes.
Mr. Wren?
I'm kind of like, I was gonna ask basically the same question, but I think either monthly or no more than quarterly, the board needs to get budget year-to-date expenditures and where we stand in the budget. Is there any problem with getting us that information?
So we have done that once since I've been here. Can we get that out this week? We can send that out in items of information.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, because we won't see you too, and a Happy New Year, but at our work session, that was another thing. Can we maybe get a copy of the rules of the board, rules and procedures of the board, in case it's something needs to be updated or educated us, what are our rules of procedure?
I can send those out in items of information as well this week. The county attorney and I have been discussing the possibility of making an amendment to Rule 27, which is the rule that required us to table the budget amendments from last time. And our thinking is we would like to not have to table budget amendments if there is no general fund impact. A lot of times we just get revenue in and expenses out, and there is no general fund.
But tell you why that board, I put the rule in there in 2004, 1994 or 1995, because every meeting we were getting blindsided with people wanting money. We got to spend it. I got to have it before Friday. Y'all got to give us some money. And that's not fair to this board, to blindside this board the way you got to make a decision. And we need to, we'll discuss that further, but maybe we can discuss it in our work session, but that's a good rule.
I'm not proposing that we do away with the rule, and I agree with you. You shouldn't be blindsided with budget requests. But what I'm saying is if the budget request is neutral to the general fund, then we would like those budget amendments to go forward. Because a lot of times we're just getting revenue in and budgeting the offsetting expense, and there is no general fund impact.
Well, I mean, the reason we could table them was the amount of money, avalanches. I mean, we were talking about $500,000 worth of ambulances and then this 911 situation. And so that's why it's put in there so we can think about it, question it better. And, that's why it was put in there when I made the motion to put it in.
Okay, Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Glad to have Dr. Senegal tonight from PCC, and other representatives there as well. Would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Also like to thank our county employees for a job well done this year. I think of all their hard work and dedication, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Win?
And again, I want to say to Carla that we're gonna miss her, and don't forget where her home is.
Mr. Ingram?
Well, Mr. Chair, I want to just wish everybody a happy, safe, and prosperous holiday season. And Ms. Smith, I wish you well in your next endeavors.
I was on a call last Tuesday, I believe it was, John, of the 10th. We were on a call with Ann Moore from the NC Treasurer's Office. She had a lot of questions concerning our financial status, I guess would be a good way to put it. But I left the call with a pretty good feeling that the state's satisfied with our progress. Jonna, would I be free to share those dates you throwed out when you thought? Or would you like to share them as far as the 23 and 24 audit? I believe, if I'm correct, you said that you felt pretty good that 23's audit would be ready by the end of January.
The target.
And 24's by the end of March. Okay. I just wanted to share that with the board. I know we're all concerned about our audits and we're behind, and I think that finance and with Jonna's help and the county manager's help, they're pushing that train just as hard as they can push it. But, you know, when the numbers are wrong and you've got to dig back through years of records to straighten them out, it is not a fast process. I think we've all learned that. But thank you, finance and everyone else is involved. Upcoming events, county offices will be closed the 24th, 25th, and 26th of December, and also January the 1st. Our next meeting will be on January the 6th at 5 p.m. at the library. This will be considered a work session. So everyone take note of that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wren.
Have we, as a county, advertised, I don't want Renee to go anywhere till after the budget, but she don't want to stay with us forever unless we give her the job. She takes it. Have we advertised for a manager?
We have not, and I
Finance
plan on-
officer?
The finance officer has been advertised, if I'm correct.
Yes, that finance officer. The finance officer has been advertised.
And I plan on taking up county manager full-time replacement at our next meeting.
Okay, and that's a work session? Or-
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now we gotta unfortunately advertise for clerk to the board.
Exactly. But I spoke with Renee and asked her when she thought would be a good time, and she said sooner rather than later. So I plan on jumping into that at our next meeting.
Let's do that.
All right. Closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which is privilege is hereby acknowledged. North Carolina General Statute 143-381.11, subsection A3, to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. North Carolina General Statute 143-318 Section 11, subsection A4, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, which privilege is hereby acknowledged, North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, subsection A6. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
As you the chairman,
So
you get to
moved.
read all that
Have a
stuff.
second.
Second.
All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
We've now set in closed session.